Hello, podcast listener. This is the JJ Meets World Promcast. We're going to talk about prom in this episode. Plus, Tucker and I are going to talk about getting a good night's sleep and exactly where you're going to buy that good night's sleep. So much more great stuff coming up in this episode of JJ Meets World. Make sure you hit the subscribe button while you're at it and sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
I don't know if you already have a date, but if you don't, I was wondering if you wanted to go with me or a group or whatever to the prom. I just don't know if that's something that you're into, and if you are, I mean, that'd be great. I want to go, and it'd be cool if you wanted to go with me, and we could get a limousine or some flowers, and just so you know, my parents love to take pictures, and my mom is on Instagram, so she's gonna share a bunch of them. But I just don't know. Are you up for it? You feel like you want to? Will you go to prom with me?
JJ, while I'm absolutely flattered by your question, I don't think it's appropriate for a teacher to accompany his student as a date to the prom. Do you see what I'm talking about here?
Well, I mean, is it because I'll be being paid when I'm there? Well, does that cheapen the experience since I'm getting paid to be there? Because I'm also chaperoning. But I can let you into the bathrooms that you're not supposed to go into if you need to go to the bathroom. And I also I can get us there really early, before they turn off all the lights for the dance. We could get in there and we could get a good spot, and you don't even have to worry about your coat. It's covered. We can put it in my office.
You know what, kid? You drive a hard bargain. Yes, I'll go with you to prom.
Yeah. My news feed was filled with prom photos from over the weekend. So there must have been several proms in town.
I also heard about sightings of people in prom dresses and tuxes and stuff. So yeah, I mean, is it the time of year for prom? Is that always spring? I always feel like it is, but I can't remember. I graduated in 2003, so I can't remember the exact time of year prom was happening around.
Hollywood movies gave us a kind of a skewed version because prom sometimes happens over graduation weekend in some movies.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
you'd think you wouldn't want to do that, because that's that sounds like having your birthday on Christmas. Because now you're actually missing out on a day of presents because of it. It's all just crammed into one.
Amen, brother. Amen. I thought in this episode of JJ Meets World, we could talk about prom, because I've got some prom stories. I'm sure you've got some prom stories. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about just the nature of prom in general.
Do you even know? So you've through Line Benders, you've performed at how many?
Hundreds
of them.
I have. Well, so I've attended the last 20 minutes and then the party afterwards of hundreds of proms and post proms within a 400-mile radius. I know the good ones and I know the bad ones.
That should be your coffee table book, JJ. You should make a coffee table book of just anecdotes of your experiences at the whole spectrum of proms that you've been to. But where does even the name prom come from? How do we even get that name? It's such a weird name.
That's a good question. I'm going to pull up the Google. Where does the name prom come from? Okay, according to Google, the word prom is a shortening of promenade, a French
okay.
origin that was used as early as the 16th century to mean a leisurely walk, as well as in later years, the public space in which this kind of walk can take place. So literally, it is that,
The initial walk.
the grand march. Yeah.
That's the prom.
That's the prom.
Okay. And then the dance is just the dance.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
You have a prom and then you have a dance,
Got
which
it.
is interesting. Okay. So to me, I think that the importance of prom, it's sort of like a mini marriage wedding setup. So,
Okay.
and hear me out on this.
Yeah.
You have to ask somebody, and you are really putting yourself out there for the ask. Even if you are dating this person, the confirmation that you two will be going to prom together is more or less the proposal. You have to put on your finest clothes. There are a lot of pictures that are taken. There is a meal that no matter what is rushed and not satisfying because you're wearing nice clothes.
Uh-huh.
And it culminates in a dance. Oftentimes there's an expectation of some kind of fornication to take place afterwards.
I mean, yeah.
And the next day you realize you spent a ton of money on something that really ultimately doesn't matter that much.
What do you mean? Hold on. Slow your roll at that last part. What do you mean doesn't matter that much? You're making memories, JJ. You, of all the people I know, believe very strongly in spending money on making memories over buying junk, right?
That's incredibly true. But I will tell you this. Do you know who does not end up with a memory of their wedding? The person who pays for it. My wedding day was such a blur of this, that, the other thing, getting this done, is so ram jammed.
Wait, are we talking about prom or weddings right now?
Well, okay, so they turn into both. That's what I'm telling you is like now that I've gone through both of them.
Yeah, but the prom does not come with all those strings and expectations attached of a marriage, dude. I mean, it flirts with the pageantry. I will grant you that. There is certainly a sort of role playing of the marriage ceremony going on in the promenade. I agree.
Tucker.
But I mean, and then you go and you sneak some booze, out of your parents' house and you go into like the countryside and then you have the real prom, right?
See, and that's something I never did. I never so I didn't drink at all in high school. So I was never part of the group that like had some
I actually
drink.
didn't either. I was actually totally square until out of high school. So I'm more or less painting an image of what I think prom should be.
Right. And even
that's
more
definitely not what I did.
That's
for sure.
even more to my point. We all have this visual of an expectation of what prom is supposed to be, which the same exact thing is of your wedding day. Like your wedding day is what, you've been dreaming about it for so many years. And now this is what it's supposed to be. And ultimately, unless you are some kind of like amazing organizationalist, if that's even a real word, there's some level of disappointment that's going to take place.
I don't know. This is a quick aside, but as we were talking about this, it made me think of a character that Pat Fundingsland used to play in video production classes at Trollwood called the Blushing Bride. And
I remember that character.
It was the supervillain who could marry and divorce couples at will. And, it's suddenly this clip from that show started playing in my head of him standing there going, man and wife, while dressed up as the Blushing Bride. And I thought that is basically weddings. Yes, that is weddings.
So I want to know, Tucker, from you, tell me about your prom history. Like lay out just the logistics of, did you go to prom 2 years? Did you go only 1 year? Had you been dating someone? Give me a little bit of Tucker's prom history.
I went to 2 proms. I did my sophomore year. I did get asked to prom by a senior, but I really just wasn't feeling it. Like I just didn't want to go. And she was just a friend of mine. And so I did not go my sophomore year, but junior and senior year, I was dating the bassoonist. And so she was my prom date. And I remember senior year, I was in a really weird mental state in general, just because all this stuff that was going on. And so it was hard to kind of enjoy, I think, for both of us, my senior prom, but my junior prom was a lot of fun. Bunch of friends got together. We all dressed up, got a limousine. I think we went to like Space Aliens or something. I don't think we, I was really square, so I wasn't doing any like drinking or anything like that. And then, yeah, what else happened? I mean, the dance happens, and the real fun is the after prom party, because the way they set it up, at least for us, is they don't want us actually going out and going crazy after prom, right? The parents really would like it all to be controlled, so they would host an after prom at like this event center or rec center. And so you'd have a bunch of hours to then you'd probably change out of your prom clothes if you want to, play games, do all sorts of other fun stuff. So, and it's a really, really fun, like recreational thing. But I mean, I took it pretty seriously too. Like I was really into the bassoonist. And so like prom was like a pretty big deal. But ultimately when I look back on it, I really like it. But when I think about my high school experience in general, I wish I could go back and talk to me and go, dude, lighten up, man. Like just chill. Enjoy this. I wasn't really able to be in the moment and enjoy a lot of my high school time. So that's like my kind of regret from prom, is that I couldn't just like be a kid and just enjoy myself in the moment. And it is kind of weird too when you look back on it. Like I wish I had done prom the way Adam Peterson and Natalie Deutsch did prom,
Mm-hmm.
where Adam Peterson, who's an amazing like costume designer and props designer and prosthetics designer for like horror films and stuff. He made a full Riddler costume for himself and a Poison Ivy costume for Natalie. And that's how they went to prom together as friends. And they rocked it, and they had a phenomenal time and made like a million probably awesome memories. And I wish I had done something like that. I remember at one point thinking I'd like to find like a Dick Tracy costume and go as Dick Tracy. Like really, as a dude or someone who's going to dress in a suit, you can really just pick any suit, right? For prom, and they're going to let you in. And so, yeah, like I just wish I had just not put so much stupid pressure on myself back then.
Okay, so I just sent you a text message with a picture from my senior prom. And I'm going to explain to you how this, yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm going to explain to you how this picture came to be.
Because I wish we could use this as the thumbnail.
We can't. We can't.
I know we can't. I'm just saying, I wish we could, because so the audience will just have to like be upset that they don't get to see this.
Maybe we could if we blurred my date's face out of it. But so here's what you have to understand about this photo. So, ladies and gentlemen,
I could use the JJ Meets World logo just to cover her head entirely.
There you go. So go seek out the thumbnail for this episode, everybody.
I'll let you do an approval process on that one first, JJ.
I went to prom 3 years in a row. So my sophomore year, now you have to understand, at Fargo South, sophomores weren't allowed to buy tickets to go to prom. Only juniors and seniors were allowed to buy tickets, which seems weird to me, but okay, that's just the way that
was our thing too. But if you were a sophomore, you could go if you were invited by a junior or senior.
Right. So in my Performing Arts 1 class, I found out that one of the students that I was friendly with was a junior. And I said, well, are you going to go to the prom? She said, well, no, I don't have a date. And I said, like, I'll be your date. Let's go. Because I, of course, growing up, wanted the Norman Rockwell prom experience. I wanted this was important to me, especially because like movies like American Pie had come out. So my idea of like what a high school dance was going to be was a live band, an amazing theme. It was going to be amazing. And so I went my sophomore year, and that was not awkward, but I had a lot of fun. We had a great time at the post prom. They had actually rented out one of the college's student unions for the night. And so I found out they give away a ton of stuff. The parents who raised money for post prom, oh my gosh, there were, 60 mini fridges and laptop computers. And there's a lot of stuff that was given away, gift cards galore. Then my junior year, I was dating someone almost my entire junior year of high school. And so, of course, she and I became prom dates. My senior year, I was in this awkward place where I had so all these different crushes, and I was scared to act on anything, and I went on some dates, but none of them were fun. And so I ended up asking this girl that I was crushing on, who I had done some plays with before, and she was really more of a choir person. And we went on a couple of dates prior to going to prom. And prom is what sealed the deal that it was not going to work out between us. And I think that she might still hate me to this day. So my senior prom, we decided to go with a big group of people.
Is that this photo, senior prom?
This photo, yeah. The photo you're looking at is my senior prom photo. And at that point, I'd kind of, I realized I wanted to be like a little different. So Dance Revolution was huge at the time. We rented a limo, a bunch of people from our show choir. So this girl was in show choir. And so we ended up going with a bunch of people who were in show choir. And I didn't have like a ton of, people who I was good friends with. Yeah. Like to be with us. So, I was kind of I was out of my element, and we played Dance Revolution, and we hit some traffic on the way to get dropped off for prom, and we ended up missing Grand March.
Oh, no.
Which wasn't a big deal to the other 8 couples, but her parents called her and were so angry because they had gone to the Civic Center and they had gotten grandma and grandpa to get up to the audience booth, and we didn't show up, and they were livid. And clearly this girl's family meant a lot to her, because the rest of the night was almost unbearable. So we missed the Grand March. We do this. They're just about to tear down pictures, because usually the line to get pictures when you go to a big high school like Fargo North or Fargo South is like a 45-minute wait. So by the time we got there, there was like 2 people in line. So I'm like, well, let's at least get our pictures. So we get down there, and I know the photographer. It's one of the Haney's brothers. And so I'm chatting with him, and I'm like, hey, let's not do like a regular prom photo. Let's do something fun. And he's like, yeah. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. What if I grab this? He's like, yeah. And then here. And then he handed my date this thing that you wrap cords around. And I think we're having a really fun time. We take this picture. 3 weeks later, I go to pick up the picture. Like, they're like, students' prom photos are in. You can pick them up in the main office. So I go pick up in the main office, and I don't know what this picture looks like. I think that we had a good time and we've got a unique photo. I pull the 8x10 out of there, and I go, oh, because she is not happy. In fact, the face that she's making in this photo is...
See, that's probably why we can't use it as the thumbnail, because it loses all its power if you can't see her expression. Maybe. So now I think we have to not use it as the thumbnail.
I mean, if you ever meet me in person, I'd be more than happy to show you this photo.
Oh my God. You're just holding a screwdriver and shrugging. That's what you're doing.
And she's got
the same, by the way.
She's got and I should have known it at first, because Monty Python and the Holy Grail, one of the movies we added to our top 5 comedies of all time list. She had never seen that before, and when we rented it, she wasn't thoroughly impressed with it.
Oh, that's a big sign right there.
Yeah.
If a date is not on the same page with you for a comedy, you go, that's just not going to work. Long term, you're not going to work.
They also had so we watched it in the basement at her house, and they only had like wicker furniture. And I'm not a fan of wicker furniture. No. It makes so much noise, and it's like, well, who thought this was a good idea? So my senior prom ends more or less like this. So we're at the dance, and at one point I decide, like, you know what? She's actively not trying to have a good time. And so I danced with people that were more in my friend group. There are some amazing photos of me, like I dipped a girl who was, I think she's a Moorhead High student. Jolene went to Moorhead High, and she was there with another friend of mine, and we were the last ones on the dance floor. We were dancing, having a great time, and we did a dip. And there's a photo, and once a year she sends it to me, and she's like, "Hey, I was cleaning out my my cupboard, and look at this awesome prom photo." I have a lot of great memories of everyone but my prom date. But so this gets even worse. So I decided I wanted to have like a grand gesture for prom ending. And so I bought 12 dozen, 144. I believe it's called a gross of red roses.
Oh,
Can you imagine how much coin I dropped on that?
that's a couple of paper routes right there.
Yep. And so I was going to give these to her at the end, but then she said, I don't feel well. I don't want to go to post prom. I don't feel well. And so then like the whole night becomes this giant bust because we don't end up going to post prom because she's mad and she's not finding a way to articulate it to me, but clearly I understand what's going on. And I also don't want to be the jerk, right? To be like, okay, well, see ya. And so that was the ending of anything. And so then, like, I remember a couple days later at school, I was talking to a mutual friend that she and I had, and they're like, yeah, she doesn't really ever want to like see you again. And so I was like, oh, okay, well,
like again, like, could you please remove yourself from her periphery?
Right. And here's what gets even more awkward. So I'm sure that her dislike of me also is shared by her parents. Well, I've had to do several things in my adult business life with her dad.
Okay.
Right. And I've never really brought it up or anything like that. And really, I've only seen this girl a few times since graduating from high school. And like, so I spoke at our graduation. I emceed the graduation. And could you imagine, like, if you were her family and they all hated me, but now you've got to sit and listen to me pontificate on like how great these years were that we had together at the Fargo Dome, and then see my big mug on the big screen. Oh, it must have been just awful. But years later, I got hired to play Santa Claus at a corporate like Christmas party. In fact, it's a company you used to work for, Tucker.
Okay.
And so one of the things they wanted me to do was each section of this business, because it was a big, big office. They each decorated their cubicle area differently in a theme, and they all dressed in the theme. And so Santa gets to choose the winner. Okay. So I go to one and they're all having a story time, and it's how the Grinch stole Christmas, and people were there's a guy who's dressed as the Grinch, and then you go to another one and everyone's in wrapping paper, and the women are wearing bows in their hair and stuff like that. So
JJ, is the size of the company in the hundreds or thousands?
I mean, maybe, I don't think thousands. I think hundreds. I think it's 3 initials is what they go by. And you worked there not too long ago.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Yep.
So, and it was before they moved into the new office that you were in. Does that make more sense?
Wait, no, it doesn't.
Okay, because well, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
It's a big company. A previous guest of ours, in fact, worked there at one point, and his name is Davey. I think he still works there, but he's on the new thing.
Yeah. Okay, yep.
Okay.
I get it now.
Yeah. Okay.
In the thousands. In the thousands.
Sorry, listener. If you just listened to that, you just wasted 45 seconds of your day. Anyway.
Well, that's pretty much most of our conversation.
So again, I am dressed in a full Santa suit. And so I'm walking through and I see this girl. She works at this company. And I'm like, oh, but she comes up and she's like, Santa, isn't this exciting, Santa? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl has no idea who Santa Claus is. So she asked for a picture with Santa Claus. Like she
doesn't know that it's you.
Yeah, she has no idea it's me.
Okay.
So she and like 3 of her coworkers asked for a picture with Santa. And so I say like, absolutely, Santa would love to take a picture with you. And so when they took the picture, I pulled my beard down and I gave almost the exact same smile I gave in that prom photo. And I'm like, there you go. Gotcha. 7 years later, and I'm the victor.
Yeah.
So that was that. I would say that was the worst prom because just, nobody likes being around when somebody is having a bad time. Right.
Right.
So my junior year, I had a really fun prom. So my date was the girlfriend I had been seeing for a while. It was easy to coordinate what we wanted. We didn't even end up going to the post prom because we were doing a little bit of making out in the parking lot.
Nice.
Yep. Right here. I'm a real Lothario. And I remember that being the most comfortable just because I already knew her parents. I knew everything that was going on. But what made my junior year prom uncomfortable is one of my best friends at the time took my sister to prom. And so they not only is he in my friend group, but now my sister's there. So like when we took group photos, we went to the Ide Bailey building because one of the parents worked there and they've got a beautiful like atrium space. So it's this guy, my friend, and my sister taking prom photos. And I thought that was inappropriate because you don't go out with your good friend's sister, right?
Jeez, JJ, is your sister your property?
No, she's not. But I'll tell you who is my friend. And so now my attention is completely gone from him. And I also like she's younger than we were. So she would have been a freshman when we were juniors.
So you're not mad at him. You're mad at her.
No, I'm mad at him. That's who I'm mad at ultimately.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was just to me, it was because he was one of those like hopeless, this is the guy who brought a guitar to all the parties. You knew this guy.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so like, would you want him taking your sister to prom?
No.
Right. Exactly. So it just becomes this thing. And truth be told, at the time, my sister and I didn't have a very good relationship. We were still like, she was my younger sister and a brat, and I was her showboat older brother who was just a doofus. And so
now it's just like 20 years later.
Yeah. And thank God, because my sister has become one of my favorite people on the planet. And actually, I always tell people this. My sister's way funnier than I am. She just doesn't like the spotlight.
Speaking of which, my sister will be up here in May for like 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
So if we should get the Sisters podcast done at some point.
We should. The sister cast. I'm all about that. So that prom was easily my favorite. It was also probably like when I look back at this picture of me in high school that you've got in front of you, like I thought I was such a big fat load at the time. And like, it's probably the best I looked. I mean, I was probably like 160 pounds and like,
really?
Yeah. I wish I could go back to being that weight. Oh my God.
I'm at 160 now.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I just was so much not healthier because I was eating crap, but like at the time, like I was really self-conscious about my body, and I still am self-conscious about my body, but that is probably like
you were a teenager, dude. You were a teenager,
right,
man. Like just being a teenager in general, like your body is just rapidly changing like every second. And you're just like careening into new weird event after new weird event that you have like no context on how to handle.
Well, in my mom's side of the family, man boobs run in the genetic pool. And so like being like without a shirt on was very tough for me because of my drooping nipples. And, don't let that be the episode title, please.
Drooping nipples? No, I don't think so.
But and then my sophomore prom was easily the most awkward because I really didn't know this girl. We ended up having a fine time, but I ran out of conversation very quickly, and I just didn't know where to go for the next one. And then this is something funny. So like 3 or 4 weeks after I took this girl to prom, she ended up dating one of my other best friends. And so it was like when I got my prom photos, I was like, oh, hey, I know that you're going on a date tonight with my buddy, but here's your wallet sizes for that. Here's what I think is interesting about prom. First and foremost, it's expensive. Prom is expensive. Even if you go on the cheap, it still is expensive because odds are you're eating out someplace and it costs money to go to a restaurant. A lot of people rent a tuxedo, and tuxedo rentals, I think, are one of the biggest scams in the world. Right. Because if you go online, you can actually buy a used tuxedo for just about the same amount of money as it is for your rental, and then you've got it. And by the way, a rental tuxedo is a used tuxedo.
Yeah. So, and I actually do not currently own a tuxedo.
Oh,
I mean, I cannot think of the last time one would have even been necessary for me.
Should we get tuxedos?
I mean, yes, we should. We really should.
I know one guy right now who uses his tuxedo all the time, and that's my coworker, Dan Michaels, who's a pretty huge in local media. And he's owned a tuxedo for years because he MCs all of these different functions, and he looks good in his tuxedo, like really good. Okay, so if we go to Men's Tuxedo USA, because I like to support America.com, let's see what they've got for used tuxedos. Oh, there's so many pop-ups on this website. Pop-ups are stupid.
Yeah. I think honestly, for something though, like a tuxedo, to me, it's like, I did go and buy my mattress online, but I would have preferred to have gone and gotten an in-person
you want to sit on
experience.
That tuxedo before it
well, no, I think I want to go to like a tailor, right? Or someone who can not only really maybe not make it, but really size it to you, but could also really be a consultant, because I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to fashion. And by the way, you're actually okay, but compared to me, you're great. But I just can't. I know if I walk into a tuxedo shop, I'm probably going to do something wrong, pick something wrong. So I really need like a wing person who I can have like the utmost confidence in, like a true professional to guide me, to be like my tuxedo Sherpa. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Let me burst a bubble for you real quick and tell you a real opinion. So I recently had to I got a brand new suit, and I spent some good coin on it. And when I went in and I was talking to the tailor, not the tailor, but like the suit salesman, I noticed something, and it's that most people don't get into the business of selling suits for their career, right? So they're doing it to pass the time right now, and they've got quotas. They're supposed to move certain inventory. So this guy was really pushing me towards this suit. And then the thing that bothered me the most, where I finally said, like, I got to walk away, is he goes, where do you hold, where do you wear your pants? And I say, well, it's very clear right here. This is my pant line. He goes, oh, you wear them way too low. You should wear them. It should be about like 4 inches below your belly button. Well, my body is situated where my pant line is below my stomach. Right. And so like I wear a 38 size pant. Mm-hmm. And if you were to go up to my belly button, it would probably be more like a 44. So we're talking about a big difference in size. Not only that, but I don't have a butt. In fact, it's sort of concave. I'm worried that I've got a thing called wasting butt disease. It makes sitting on hard surfaces very difficult. I'm round everywhere except for the rump. It looks like if you have an uncooked turkey and the area where the neck used to be, and there's all that loose skin right there, you're looking pretty much at JJ Gordon's tuchus.
But remember though, JJ, you are a being made of clay. You could always get a butt at some point.
No, I don't think so. I think that I'm genetically predisposed to not having a butt.
I think that's an excuse.
I could get, do you want me to do some butt exercises? I could get something like Booty Pop, where they like inserts into my underpants, but then I'm wearing a Booty Pop all the time. And then what do you do if you have to go poop?
I'll start picking up all those buns of steel tapes I see in thrift shops when I'm looking for old media. Yep. I'll get a bunch of those for you, bud, and I'll drop them off in a milk cart, and you can just start making your way through those.
So this guy tells me, like, well, you're wearing your pants in the wrong spot. And I'm like, well, this is where I wear them. This is where I'm comfortable. This is where all my belts are sized to. And he's like, no, they need to be up here. And I finally said, if I wear pants this far up, and because he, at this point, he and I are aggressively going back and forth about this. And I said,
I love the stories of you getting into it with like retail workers, restaurant workers. Yeah. Like the way you describe your life, you're kind of like a Fargo Larry David sometimes.
It's very true. So finally,
you're like a cross between Larry David and Jeff Garland.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, because I've got Jeff's girth and Larry's opinions. So finally, because he's giving me a pair of pants now that are so big, they look like clown pants. And he's like, these are the right size for you and where they need to be. And so they put them up there. And I said, okay, here's the problem. And he's like, there's no problem with these pants. They're perfect. I'm like, oh, yeah. And so I walk him over to a mirror, and these pants are so high up on me that it's caused this giant. Well, I mean, that's very egotistical. It's caused all of my genitalia to be on one side, and that it clearly, like, you can see the whole thing. And I'm like, yeah. So you this is what you want? Like, so this looks awful. This is ridiculous. And he's like, well, no, you have to learn. And so then he starts like doing this like dance move where it's his hips back and forth, almost like that flossing dance. He was like, you gotta get to where it's like in the middle. And I was like, what?
He's telling you to put your balls on either side.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's not gonna work. Like it's not like this is a bad situation. So I ended up like being very dissatisfied and walking away from the situation. And I said, I don't care if that's where people typically wear their pants. I'm buying these pants. I want them to make me feel. I'm already going to be slightly uncomfortable in dress clothes.
Yeah.
So allow me the comfort of knowing my own body.
It sounds to me like, you had a bad experience with a tailor and now you're just writing off all tailors.
No, no, but it's not the tailor though. It's the salesman.
Well, the guy, the person, right? The professional, whatever.
Yeah, but because there's a big difference, because I know plenty of tailors who totally understand. They're like, yep, this is where you want to wear your pants. Fantastic. We'll cuff the leg right there. And, we'll do this and we'll add, we'll add a couple inches here. Tailors are great because they're the ones who are going to make your clothing fit like a glove to the way you want. The salespeople are the ones who are just trying to push through the blue wool cotton suit, right? Because that's the one on sale. So I think the problem is that gone are the days of where there are people who specialize in selling suits, and they've chosen that as their career because they make some kind of a commission off of it. And now you've got someone who is just waiting for their buddy Donnie to call and say like, hey man, good news. The insurance company I work for is hiring somebody else. No experience required. And that's my problem here, is that Strauss in Fargo used to be the place I loved to shop at. Oh my God. I use the word Donnie because there was a man named Don who worked there who helped my dad buy all of his like nice clothes. And my dad, like, it was like a rite of passage. My dad brought me into Strauss. He's like, JJ, this is Don.
Nice.
And introduced me to this man. And so I went to Don nonstop. I found the men who worked at Strauss to be just amazing, and they knew everything inside and out. You don't get that when you go to a Men's Warehouse. In fact, I have had nothing but horror stories from people about their experiences at some of these essentially chain bulk suit shops.
Right.
Oh my God, that was a long tangent to get off on.
I just think we were talking about prom. You had a lot to get out, right? You were like Michael Clark Duncan in The Green Mile, where you just sort of opened your mouth and all of these pests had to come out inside of you. This poison that you were carrying around with you, JJ.
So you're saying that all of my experiences have caused me to suck in the evils of the world,
and you're expelling them right now. That's what this is. This is clothing therapy right now. You're talking about your frustrations. You're talking about having a tailor in the same way you've got like a butcher, right? You got to find the right person.
Yeah.
But I'd also, I'd like to find a tailor. But one thing too is I know because I know a lot of people who are just very fashion sensitive, right? Like they understand, they at least get it. And they'll give me like the straight dope if I ask them to. If I go, listen, I understand that I dress like I work at a gas station, and I'd like to change that, and I'd like to get a suit. What should I do? Like I need those people in my life who are like, I know exactly what you need, and then send me to like the person, right? Reference me to whatever tailor or whoever I need to go to. And then I've got that person. I know where to go.
And I know several great tailors in town. So if you ever want a tailor, and they do things as simple as this, I know someone who is like, his pant leg is right in between 30 and 32, but finding a 31 is damn near impossible.
So, I'm in the same boat.
So he takes all of his jeans in and gets them tailored to 31 inches, and he loves it. He goes, it's perfect. It's a perfect size jean now because the leg is just exactly where it needs to be. Nice. So if you want the name of a good tailor, I know a couple.
Text it to me, buddy. I need a good tailor to go to.
Excellent. And you know what? I also love putting people together with things. If I like the service that I receive somewhere, nothing brings me more joy than bringing them more business. It's
right.
the ultimate reward.
I may have a mattress guy now.
What?
I may have a mattress guy. I can't fully say I have one yet, but I think I have a mattress guy, and I'll share the details with you as well. Outside of this, this is a give and a take, right?
Mhm.
You give me a reference, I give you a reference.
And
It's
I
like
don't know,
networking.
for some reason, I don't know why we're not sharing it on the podcast right now, because partially it's like we're not beholden to any businesses.
I know. I
but
think it's more like I haven't fully vetted it yet. So
yeah.
right. It's that kind of thing.
And it's
But
maybe,
once I vetted it, then I will, because my mattress. So the mattress I own right now, I bought it off Amazon for like, $50 or
Yep.
something. And it's actually been great. It's been a really nice memory foam mattress, but it's also one that's not built to last. Hence it cost $50. And I can already tell that it's sort of not becoming more compressed, and over time it's losing its memory-ness or whatever. And roughly, I think people in general kind of change out their mattress every 10 years, but this is not a 10-year mattress that I'm on. So I'm probably going to start looking for that 10-year mattress. And I'm thinking about going big, like just getting the biggest bed I can, because I love having a large bed.
Mhm.
And so I happened to find a mattress store in downtown Fargo. And talk to the guy who owns it. It's a single person who owns the business. And he gave me the whole spiel on his time in the industry and how other things do stuff. And so I might have a mattress guy. I might go to him and buy one in the next couple of months.
I'm so glad to hear that, Tucker, because the genetics that you inherited from your father don't lend themselves to great mattress guys. I've got a story.
That sounds like you do.
So when you and I lived together in your father's home, where your sister was also still a high school student and residing, at one point I got a call from your dad, and he said, "Hey, listen, I'm getting Tucker's sister a brand new mattress. Would you come help me move it?" And because I had a bigger car and he didn't at the time. I said, "Sure, sounds good." So he sends me the address, and I find myself kind of in the Fargo Industrial Park area. Do you know? Okay, like I think it's on 12th Avenue North.
Yep.
There's an Arby's right along
I
the
know what you're talking
interstate.
about. Yep.
So it was a little further west than there.
Pretty sketch. Okay.
Pretty sketch. So sketch to the point of where I'm like, well, clearly I must have written like north down, but it was south. So I called your dad and I'm like, there's no way I'm in the right area. And he goes, "No, I see your car. It's over here." And so he waved me over to a Quonset that had a dirt floor. And when you walk in, there's no lights. And there are just about like 40 mattresses piled along on this dirt floor. And he goes, "I just got to pick one of these. Which one do you think is good?" And I was like, to be honest, have no idea.
None of them. They're on the dirt floor.
Yeah. And so I said,
What's inside of them?
Where did these come from? And the guy who must have been running the operation goes, "It's a truck sale." And so I was like, "Oh, like, but then I know it's like all of them are different brands. Like one is, like this brand and that brand." And I'm like, "Where did these things come from?" And someone over by me was like, "Well, I'm buying a bunch of them because we've, like for the jail." And like,
Sure.
I was like, "Oh,
that's nice."
Prison mattresses. Okay. So your dad buys this mattress, and I was like, "So
Dad buys Brianna a prison mattress."
Yeah. And by the way, these things are not in like when you buy a mattress from like a mattress store, it usually comes in like a bag, like a big bag. These are just wide open to the air mattresses filed in amongst each other. But we get that mattress. Now I'm gonna double down and tell you about my. We started off on prom and getting close to ending on mattresses. So I use Costco for my mattress purchases, and I'll tell you why. Costco has a return policy that cannot be beat by any other organization I've ever been in the entire world. If you buy a potted plant from Costco and keep it all summer long and don't water it and it's dead, you can bring it back to Costco and they'll either refund it or give you another potted plant.
That's crazy.
In fact, it's so bad that they say like sometimes landscaping companies, when they're putting up like, like a showroom type thing, will just come and get a bunch of their stuff and then return it afterwards. They took back a PlayStation 3 that I had that had completely crapped out, and Sony was like, "Nope, it's 2 years and 1 month since you purchased it, so we don't have to do anything to fix it." But they also will take back mattresses.
Okay.
So if let's say you buy and I found a brand I really like there. They're the deep mattresses. So it's like 18 inches tall. So it's got the layer of the memory foam. It's got the cooling thing, extra memory foam, blah, 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 blah. So if at any time, and we're talking like it could be 10 years down the road, you feel like this thing has lost its oomph, you just need to bring it back in. You do not need to bring it in the box. You do not need to even have your receipt handy because they're going to look it up for you. And they're going to look it up by product. So they're going to search mattress for your purchase. So you don't even have to tell them like, I bought this April 18th, 2021. They're going to find that mattress for you. It is amazing. And we had one mattress that after about 2 years it just didn't work out as well. Brought it back, no questions asked, walked out of there with a new mattress.
So one thing that I'm sorry, is your story still going?
No, but that is the most. I'm sick and tired of what you're talking about. Let me get my point in right now that I've ever heard. But go ahead. I am now finished.
What I was trying to communicate was, holy shit, I think I interrupted JJ without him finishing, and I'm adding to this conversation. That's what I was trying to say, but then it came off as, fuck, can we talk about something else now? I apologize.
Are you done yet? Are you done? Are you done with your stupid mattress story?
I am not going to remove that because people should hear how fucking stupid I sound sometimes when I don't use the correct emphasis. I apologize, JJ. No, what I wanted to add to this was that one thing about mattress buying that people don't understand is how severely fucked up the mattress industry in general is. Most mattresses, especially at the big retail places, and this is, a lot of information I'm getting from that guy I talked to, but also there's been like short documentaries. I think Adam Ruins Everything did an episode of this. I think Penn and Teller, what's it called? Bullshit or whatever. I think they did an episode on something like this. Most mattresses out there are basically the same mattress, but they're white labeled. So they have different brands on them.
Sure.
And they'll often just be you'll see one mattress with one brand on it in one store, go to the next store, the exact same mattress, except it's a different brand and it's got $1,000 markup on it. And so you're never really, certainly with the big retail places, it's really difficult to be a consumer in that place, because you're also dealing with people who are constantly trying to upsell you, right? You're dealing with salespeople who work on commission. And so they are trying to get you to buy anything that you can. Whereas the dude that I found, it's just his business. There is no commission. He knows what he can make on what the markup is on each one. And it's just easier to go that way. And I think like part of what he was telling me though, and I didn't realize this was, so we've all seen these like bed in a box companies pop up, right? Like you can get your full bed set through the mail now, like I did in Amazon. So I guess those companies are all really hurting that they're all trying to open up brick and mortar stores now. And I guess there's been these like insane return policies where they're having like 40 to 50% returns on their products that are going out, and they can't resell those things. So they end up like throwing them or doing something else with them. And it was like a crazy stat he brought up, something to the effect of like one of these companies, for every new customer they brought on, they lost $10.
Oh, wow.
Right. So like they were trying all these price structures and incentives to outcompete each other in the marketplace of mailing you your bed. And they all just sort of ate each other alive. So like, I'm wondering how many other, because we're seeing so many companies pop up like that, right? Like you just mail you your meat, mail you the food you want, you buy your stamps online. Everything else is just getting mailed to you. And some things that works for, but I wonder what things we'll find out, or it's actually not conducive for that model. And they actually do better as a brick and mortar. And that might be mattresses. Because I really was unhappy with buying a mattress online. I'd much rather go somewhere and actually test it out, right? Yep. And have an experience where I'm not being upsold, which is why there are certain auto repair shops in town that I know I refuse to go to. Because every time I went there, they were constantly trying to upsell me, versus the ones who I'd go to, like my one I go to now, Corey's Car Care, because I love those guys. And every time I go there, I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm hearing. I think maybe this is the problem. They'll go, oh, looks like this is the problem. We can do this if you want. Great. Thanks, man. Right. They give me what I need. and they don't try to upsell me on anything. And because of that, they have my loyalty as a customer. So like they did like a relationship building. And that's like what this mattress guy in downtown seems to be doing. He's like, yeah, I'm just trying to be that guy that a lot of people know that they can go to for their mattress purchase versus a big company who's got all of this stock, like you were talking about with like tuxedos and stuff.
Yep.
That they're just trying to push out the door. And the person trying to sell you it is not incentivized to make you happy.
Right.
At all.
They're trying to make today's sale because they don't care about tomorrow.
Right. But like the long-term business owner, they've got skin in the game. They want you to be happy because they need you to come back.
Or at very least, they want you to talk about it on your podcast.
For sure.
Right.
For sure. But I haven't mentioned the name of it yet.
Well, I think that there's very few options in downtown Fargo to buy a mattress.
That's true. That's true. I actually had no idea this place even existed, and it's been there for like 2 years.
Well, there you go. And I know that some people like the custom mattresses, so you can go to a place that used to be a Krispy Kreme donut, and they manufacture your mattress on site right then and there.
I call that place Bloody Baby Dicks.
Oh,
BBD. Yeah, that's their BBD is the one that is one of the ones in town that makes that for you.
I would also say this. Do you know the oldest bed I think I've ever slept on?
Like it was ancient?
Yeah, like the bed itself feels like maybe it was stuffed with chicken feathers because that's what you did at the time to build a bed. Okay. It was also probably the scariest night's sleep that I've ever had. Was it
in a castle?
What?
Was it in a castle?
No. This one was at your grandma's place in Kentucky at Windswept. I got this giant back corner bedroom that had a huge bed, but I mean, I feel like that bed had been around for like 100 years.
At least the frame, yeah, for sure.
And you know what? It was extremely comfortable. Like it was like a true feather bed. Like it was very comfortable. But it was terrifying because that was in the middle of the night, a giant thunderclap and a lightning strike woke me up, and there was a horse staring at me from like 3 feet away with its big dead eyes.
When Mama Luke had the farm on Windswept, like there was no not scary room to be in.
That's very true, because you could also be in the room Tucker slept in, which was full of porcelain dolls
that are all staring at you, and then Mama Luke's bedroom itself, which is like dressed like almost like from the Victorian era,
and she's playing Coast to Coast all night, so you're listening about like aliens.
And she has a porcelain doll of herself in her wedding dress in that room.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to talk about quick though, about like because we were talking about storefronts, right, and like actually having like a brick and mortar place. It's so weird to think about things that that definitely is going to need a brick and mortar, because I remember a period of time, certainly and it's still going on, of course, but you see a business pop up and you go, how the hell is that supposed to sustain itself in that building on Broadway downtown? Like at one point, what was on the corner of Broadway and like First Avenue, right across from the Hodo, there was that space that was a
kite store.
Yeah, it was the kite store. It was. I thought, what? Who opens a kite store? Who needs the walk-in traffic for a kite store?
Yeah.
And that was there for a year, too?
Oh, I think it was there for several years, and now it's a suit store.
Right.
Yeah, every now and then I walk by and I go like, this is too niche.
It's a massive space. It needs to be divided up into like little tiny spaces.
Yeah,
or something.
I remember at one point like one of the film festivals like they had like a luncheon in the basement of that building. It's big enough to have a luncheon in.
The summer I worked for the Downtown Community Partnership, we used it as like our base of operations. So like we had it as like the full run of this open space at the time, which seemed really, really neat. And it could become a really cool space if, but not if you put kites in it.
I mean, they had other things there like juggling balls and
they really diversified.
Yeah, they had some other stuff. Every now and then I think like this is so incredible. You know, like, do you need to sell one product per month to make your rent? You know, right. Then I understand. Then you've got something that like I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of get around that a little bit. But when you are taking a stab at like, listen, we only sell pens. I mean, right. Like, listen, the internet and big box stores are going to have you beat no matter what. Heck, not even big box stores, gas stations.
Right.
If I need a pen, I'm going to go get it. Pens are in abundance. You can't have a store that's all pens.
Oh, and then there's stores like Gomp's Displays that you're like, how are you still here? Like, how much fake poop can you sell in a year to stay open? I wondered, like, do you think they own that piece of land?
They do, absolutely do. In fact, I know for a fact they own the storefront, and then behind, they do a ton of business in costume rental. So, like, the house behind Gomp's is connected to it, and that's where they store all of their costumes. And so, like, if you say, I want to dress up as Johnny Tremaine for, like, you know, like an event that I'm going to, and I want a really good costume, like, Gomp's has it for you.
Okay.
I rented a Scooby-Doo outfit from them for a lip sync contest once. Plus, they also at one point had the contract to decorate all of the, like, to put up the light post that has like a cotton can or a candy cane on it or a snowflake during the holidays.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
so that was big business as well. And they also have a huge selection of flags. And so if you tell yourself, like, oh, listen, I would like to raise the flag of Poland because we have Polish ancestry, they had a lot of business there. But the clock is ticking on a business like that, right?
I mean, yeah, for sure. But also, I hope they're there forever, because that's the only thing I can think of that has been that consistent since I was born. Right. Like, I don't know when they open, but as far back as I can remember, Gomp's Displays has been there, and it has looked exactly like that. Exactly the same. And it has, if you've never been before and you're in Fargo, you really do got, when it's COVID precautions have lifted and stuff, you really got to check out Gomp's Displays, because it does have that vibe of, like, walking, like, you've seen this scene in movies a dozen times, where you walk into, like, the creaky old corner shop that's got all the weird gizmos and gadgets and stuff in it, and that's where you're going to go in, and that's where, like, some magic adventure is going to start, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like the bookstore that the kid goes into in the Never-Ending Story a little bit.
Yes, exactly like that. And you feel like you might end up finding a cursed monkey's paw, you know, or having, like, a Freaky Friday moment afterwards for some reason.
I also will say this. I still shop at Gomp's Displays. Like, whenever I need new liquid latex because I'm building, like, a custom prosthetic mustache or something, I still use them all the time, because I think that they've got great products, and I'm willing to support a local business in that way. And I know a lot of the theater departments support them when they need to go get something. But the thing I'll tell you about Gomp's Displays is the smell of Gomp's is unlike anything else.
Yeah.
And if you gave me 100 smells, I would be able to identify Gomp's immediately when I smelled it.
Like, they could probably identify a very specific strain of mold that's in there that's specific to just that building.
I mean, it's a mixture of, like, plastic, rubber, spirit gum.
Yeah, like all the off-gassing coming from all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I mean, so
flickering lights.
Jim Gompf, who's been, like, you know, the man with the plant, like, I think he still punches things out, like, with an actual, like, typewriter, like a non-electric typewriter. I got to know him when I worked at the Eagles Club as a dishwasher when I was in 8th grade, because he'd come back into the kitchen and just chat with me for a while. And he was really, I mean, paid more attention to a kid of my age than he should have. Because, I mean, to me, I was like, so you guys have costumes and stuff like this? And he'd answer all my questions. And he was just a really nice older guy who absolutely loved talking about what he had dedicated his life to.
Nice.
And if you ever see a car roaming around Fargo and the license plate says Flags, that's him. That's Jim.
And I believe he is the grandfather of previous guest Toby Jones.
Yeah, in fact, he is. So, God, yeah, I forgot we had so many great episodes of this show.
I know.
Okay, so we've talked about prom, we talked about mattresses, and our favorite costume store. So we've overloaded the listener with this episode of JJ Meets World. I do want to mention, though, real quick, that in recent times I've been invited on a bunch of other podcasts, and so I've been able to be a guest on other podcasts, and it's awesome. I have a great time, and I think I'm slightly entertaining at the very least. So if you have a podcast that you'd like me to be a guest on, or Tucker,
Hell yeah.
reach out. We'd be more than happy to do it. It's a ton of fun, and I won't even railroad in my stuff. All I'll do is just plug it a little bit at the end. So, oh boy, okay, Tucker, I'm beat. I got to go get a new cell phone today. So in the next episode, maybe we'll talk about. I can't believe these cell phone places.
All right, I'm going to go pick up your corsage.
Oh, thank you very much. Please don't let it be a lily. I'll explain later. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. One time, Tucker had my mattress for a while, and then when I got back from him, I dreamt about him for a while.